us for another Talk It Over. And a quick side note, as this will be kind of our last one before our winter break, we have a new series with LifeNorth.Church about Christmas at the movies. It's the first time they've ever done it, so really looking forward to that. But with that, it's a very kind of have to watch it live. It's not available otherwise, so we're kind of stuck there for Talk It Over, but that's okay. We of course will see you guys in the new year as we start the new season and new series. It should be a lot of fun. So kind of finishing off this More Than Enough series. Excellent message this week. But before we get into that, how was your guys' weeks? Anything new and exciting or things happening that people might be interested to know about?
Yeah, lots. Lots of changes happening for the Slomka household.
Yes.
One son heading off to school, so he's going to be leaving, and stuff happening with the business. And so, yeah, lots of good stuff. And it's Christmas.
Yeah.
And we got lots of parties we were talking about.
Yeah. Getting
together with family and friends. And so it's good. It's going to be a busy month.
Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about that we seem to do a lot of the partying and getting together in like the worst weathered time of year instead of like the middle of summer when it's actually like nice and pleasant out.
Yeah.
And we should be outside and enjoying and barbecuing and food and that. No, we do that when it gets cold and damp and nasty.
Yeah.
Do it a little backwards.
And you literally are barbecuing then.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, literally I'm barbecuing.
Yeah, so that's like out in the back with
the snow and all of it. So, yeah. How about for you, Carolyn? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think we're just also getting ready for a couple weddings. So that's right. Added to the festivities. And so it's been a while, actually. One of our friends got married at Christmas time, like 32 years ago. And so being able to celebrate this year with their daughter getting married around the same time that they did. And my niece, it'll be exciting. Be nice to get out of the cold, I won't lie.
Yeah, it's gonna be busy. Yeah, it's certainly busy. Yeah, with the weddings and Nathan going off to school. It's gonna be a fairly packed last few weeks of December for sure. But definitely an exciting time, right? As lots of things are changing, moving forward. So that's always good.
It's good.
Always good. Yeah, nothing really crazy for me this week. It's been pretty straightforward. Didn't have anything overly exciting. Did my work Christmas party yesterday, which was nice. We haven't done one since I think 2018, so it's been It's been a while. 19 was transplant, so we weren't home.
Right.
And then the whole COVID thing, and it's just been kind of pushed off. So it was nice to be able to do that again in a number of years. So it was just nice to get out and just relax and be on the outside of the work atmosphere and just be able to be on the social side and just be able to enjoy that. So
yeah, because it sounds like you guys are pretty busy, go all the time.
It seems to be that way. I'm hoping in the next week or so things will tail off a little bit, and then we'll have that last like 3 days before Christmas. That'll be a rush of everything that people are like, oh, I'm traveling now, and it'll be
my car fixed.
Yeah, no, it's not like it hasn't been an issue for weeks. It's just now we're leaving, so I need to get it fixed. So
that's right.
We'll probably end up with that, but that's usually a fairly normal occurrence, so we're usually pretty prepared for that. So
that's funny.
So yeah, our last message from More Than Enough title is The Responsibility of Being Blessed, which I think is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because if you're not responsible with what God's giving you, it's easy to lose it or mismanage it or unfortunately hoard it and not be generous with it. So excellent message. Our scripture.
Which is ironic because we want to be blessed.
We do, yes.
Like everybody prays for blessing, like I want God bless me.
Yeah.
But then, the responsibility comes with the blessing.
Yeah.
So there's challenges associated with that as well.
There is because you're being blessed, but then you also can be a blessing, right? So it's kind of, as we've talked before, it's kind of open hands, one to one, as it just keeps moving.
It has to flow through.
It does have to flow, because if it stops somewhere, the blessing, the movement of that can change, and it stops, and you're not being that blessing now, and
so God stops blessing you.
Yep, and it's a whole effect as it moves along, right? So.
Yeah.
Our scripture today comes from 2 Corinthians 9, verse 1 to 11. And God will generously provide all you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. Yes, you will be enriched in every way so that you can always be generous. And when you take your gifts to those who need them, they will thank God.
Yeah.
again,
So
that
great.
blessing of knowing where the blessings are coming from,
right.
to know who to be thankful for those blessings.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of touched on a bit of the first question, the exciting part of the week. We've got lots of things happening, so I think we'll just dive right into what was an impactful part of the message this week for you guys, something that stood out.
I think there's a couple pieces. I think the story that he told about the woman who showed up for church,
yes,
and was skeptical, and then again, there's that take back offering that we've done as a church where you could take money out, and how impacted she was by that. That when she got to the point a few weeks later, when she was kind of taking money out of the offering bucket because she needed it, and the pastor had said to the front, from the front, like, let this be the way that God meets your need.
Yeah.
And her making that connection, like, this is God doing this.
Yes.
So many people are so skeptical about God, and like, what's he doing? And does he really see me? And does he bless me? And sometimes when we pass things along to people that God has given to us, it's just helping them make that connection that this ultimately is from God.
Yeah.
And I really like that. We've talked a lot about how we need to communicate more and tell the stories more. And I think that's a part of it as well, is reminding people where it comes from.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that God has blessed me with, and so I'm passing it on to you. And so really it's from him.
Yeah. It was a great story, because again, if we don't talk about them, you don't hear about them, right? And it's easy to skip over those. Yeah. But seeing that small taking out was working and changing her heart. And even then, her perception of where it was coming from, right? And that connection. Yeah, that was excellent part of the message.
Well, and it's funny, right? Because oftentimes out of those moments of where we encounter God, we want to serve. Yeah. And so he talked about later on, she would come and intentionally put cash in the offering bucket in case somebody else further down was at the take it out stage. Yeah. So priming the pump, as it were, to make it available. Yeah. Because she had been so moved by that, she wanted to kind of bless other people. And that's how it works often, isn't it?
It does.
It's the thing that impacts us so much that we're like, I want to make sure that I pass that on to someone else.
Exactly. That idea of the hand, and it just, right, and it's in, and we're just kind of holding it for a while until it's ready to move on to the next blessing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are always impactful stories like that, where you find people being impacted in, it's seeming to be a small way, but the impact for her and then later on can be that blessing for somebody else. Yeah. It's just amazing at how that can all kind of work its way through.
Yeah, and just the reminder that there's a role in whatever season of life you're in, whether it's like, I'm hurting God, or whether it's in the, God, I've seen how you bless me, I can give back, that God's hand is in all of it, and he's winding that together, and that we can celebrate each season of our life, opposed to seeing it as a negative thing. It's like, I can see God in the highs and in the lows and in the in-betweens, and he's there, and how generosity plays a big part of that.
Yep.
And for me, what was impactful is to step back and recognize, for all of us in North America, we are rich.
Yes.
I think we lose perspective so quickly on what that is. And I know I do. And I need those reminders that, no, we're blessed. Like, it's not always about numbers or the latest gadgets, or it's about, look what you have, not what you don't have. And that was a good reminder.
I appreciate Craig's heart that he acknowledged that there are people who are in the middle of a financial challenge, where they're really, really struggling. And there are people like that. But yeah, the acknowledgement that for a lot of people, maybe even the majority of people, I mean, all the things that you can list off that we have, we have a lot. We are very blessed. We're rich.
Yeah.
We are rich. And God said that's okay, but then he gave it for a purpose. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I kind of tie into both those as kind of the main point. And the one that really out of that was the line, where we draw that line of, this is, once we hit this point, then we're going to be rich, then we're going to be fine. And you hit that point, and then that line moves. Well, now I need to get here to be rich. And then, well, now it moves again. And we never seem to be able to get to the point where we think that we're actually rich or well off, or right. And it always is a constant moving line. And so to remember that, no, we are actually rich. We are in a very rich country that has a lot to offer, but also has a lot of things that are available to us that you wouldn't be able to maybe get in different areas of the world. And again, we lose sight, that perspective of how available things are, because we get pushed into that mindset that we have to have it now, and it needs to be now, and everything, you click a button and the next day it's here, and right. So that's a constant. When it doesn't show up, it's like, oh, we're just, it's not working right, or I'm not getting what I need right now, and it just kind of continues to feed into that. And so that reminder of, we are rich, we live in a rich society, and we have a lot that we can offer.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because you could call that line the need line. What do I need? And the truth is, once I get there, I've got more things that I need. And I get to here, and I've got more things that I need. That's why it's kind of funny, right? You watch interviews with millionaires who are like, I'm not there yet. Or billionaires where it's a little bit more. A little bit more.
Yep.
And because it's the need line, what do I need? And we seem to keep moving it forward. It goes out ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about that in our life group last week, about what does it look like to, when we do come across extra, or we get a bonus, or we get a raise at work. Well, we don't really need that money to live on. We don't need it because we're already living.
We've already been fine.
We're already fine.
Yeah.
We're already meeting the needs we have. So what does it look like to use that to be generous?
Yeah.
How can that be put to something else because we don't need to have it? It's just again, it's the mindset. It's changing it, how you look at it, how you look at what your life is, and what do you actually need to live on.
Yeah.
Like what is an actual need to over a luxury or a want?
Well, it's interesting because God doesn't say you have to be poor and have nothing.
No.
And we actually can enjoy the blessing. That's part of why he gave it to us. But if it's all for us, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? That's not when it's good. We actually need to be giving a bunch of that away as well.
Yeah. All right. We're going to read Luke 12:18-21. So then he said, "This is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And there I will store my surplus grain. Mm-hmm. And I will say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Mm-hmm. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God." Mm-hmm. And so again, talking about a farmer who had a surplus of grain, more than what he would be able to store and what he had. So I'll build more for myself and I'll be able to keep more. So with that kind of in mind, the question leads into, how can someone be rich towards God with their time, talents, and resources? We kind of can expand a little further with that in kind of what we're talking about here.
Well, it's interesting because as a church team, we've been talking about laying up treasures in heaven.
Yes. Yeah.
And what are the things that God rewards kind of in the life to come, beyond the resurrection to kind of that second life? And he tells us all through his word, like, here's what I reward. And so the story Jesus is telling is that idea of, you can't take it with you.
No.
But Rick Warren would say, but you can send it ahead.
Yes. Yeah.
I can invest what I've been given by God here on earth into things that God will store up for me in heaven. And so this guy is like, no, I'll keep it all in what I can hold physically here. But when the life is over, it's given
gone
to someone else. It's not yours.
Yeah, it's all gone.
But if we'd invested it wisely in actually things that God was rewarding in heaven, then when you get there, you've got all of that blessing already stored up. Mm-hmm. What a beautiful picture that is.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's easy, again, in the story here, it's easy to store up for yourself. It's easy to do that. But that's not building anything for later. Yeah. It's all for just the here and now, which is fine. But if you die that night, it doesn't matter. It's all gone. Like, you don't have it. And yeah, I think that's kind of, part of it. And, our time, our talents, our resources, things that God's given us, it's all been given to us for a reason. We all have different talents, different pieces to play. But again, being wise with those and sharing those and being able to help the people around us with whatever we can, because there's certain things that, of course, I'm not good at, and there's certain things that I am good at. And it's all about us working together to continue to move forward with what God's given us. And it's not necessarily financial, but all the aspects of what we have. We can certainly share those, because it's easy for me to hold on to the things I'm good at and not share that with anybody, not do any of that. But again, that's not helping anybody. It's not helping me, because I'm not doing what God's asking me to do with what he's given me.
I think that's the amazing thing about it is when you realize that when you follow God, you get to be a part of an adventure, opposed to trying to control life. You get to be on that adventure. And I'm definitely a scarcity mindset person, and always thinking about, but. And I realize a lot of it is because when life has gotten hard and you've been hurt, you realize how vulnerable you are. And for me, that vulnerability can be really hard with this stubborn attitude I often have. God would call it pride, but that, I want to do it myself. I don't want to have to need other people, because what if they don't show up? What if they don't what if they're not kind? What if? And I realize that so often my focus is on people and not on God as my provider. And I need that reminder that God provides. Regardless of what we go through, God is walking through that with us, whether it's my time, my talents, or my resources. Because I think sometimes we hold back, like, no, I'm really tired. This is my thoughts sometimes, is I'm tired, so I don't want to give more because I'm tired. But doing it, focusing on what I think I need, doesn't necessarily help me re-energize.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
We fill our lives with empty things. I do. And then you realize, like, that didn't fill me. If I'd done what God asked me to do, that would be much more fulfilling.
Yeah. I think a lot of that ties into that security, right? We can feel insecure at moments. And then the easiest way is to hold on to what we can and hold it tight. And then we lose that trust that, no, God's going to get us through it. We lose that because we almost get fearful or scared that we're not going to be able to get through it. And that can certainly, that can lead down a path of really hold on to it, that scarcity mindset, and really drag you further from God and what God wants you to do, because you can easily just continue on that path. And certainly, growing up backgrounds, people have different ways things were, what you grew up with. And if God wasn't the center of it, it changed how you would, again, view what's available to you or what you had and how you react to different situations, for sure. Definitely been there.
Well, it's interesting because the things that God asks you to do are things that actually help and benefit other people. So you get to bless other people. It's not like they're go dig a ditch just for the sake of digging a ditch, right? That's not what God asks. He's like, go help that person in need, or lend your abilities to that person that has something that you can do for them, or help that person who's poor or needs some food. Like, what are the really good things that you can do? And that's what God rewards, is you doing really generous, nice things to other people. And so when we're asked to do these things, even though it can feel hard on our side because we're not sure we have enough, and we have to trust God in that. At least the things that we're doing, we know are beneficial things. They're good things that we're doing, that we're investing.
Yeah, we're investing in the right things, not investing in the wrong things. Yeah, that's for sure. All right, I think we have time here for one more. How can we balance the generosity with saving money? That's always one of those questions, I think, that comes up a lot, especially around finances. Well, we need to save, so we can't be generous, or we can be generous, but then we're not saving.
Right.
I think you get that idea that it's either one or the other. It can't be both. So what does that look like for you guys? Is there something that seems to balance better than the other? Or
I think all of that is always about proportion. I think that's how God works. And so if there's an increase, then how much can we give away? And are there some things that we wanted to save up for? And is there some stuff we want to save for to make sure we're being wise going forward to the future? So again, in the story, it's not like this guy was unwise for having barns filled with grain. That wasn't the problem. It was in the increase, I was going to keep all of it. And so it's the same for us. Is we've got an increase. Excellent. How much of it can we be generous with? How much of it can we bless people? How much do we put towards our stuff? And even how much of it do we enjoy in that? And there can be a piece of that too. But I think it's just like with your budget, it's about proportions.
It is.
And I think it's easy when you first get the increase to not think about where it's going to go. So you just spend it all on yourself.
Yes.
And then maybe next year when we get to the budget and now we've increased our budget, now we'll think about where it's going to go. But in that in-between stage, it's not accounted for anywhere. So I guess it's all mine.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely touched on that, even in life group. It's all about, knowing where everything's going, what's being used where, and then being able to use that. And again, God gives us blessings because we are responsible with what he's given us.
Yeah.
And then it's okay, well, this is what I have. And he doesn't say we shouldn't save some. He doesn't say we shouldn't spend a little on ourselves, but he wants us to be generous with it. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? What part of that is going to be generous? What part is going to be responsible for the future? And what part is going to be to enjoy a little bit now? Is exactly what you were saying. And I think that's exactly it, is knowing almost, we talk about, planning ahead or planning ahead of time that you're going to go work out. So you've pre-decided.
That's right.
So if I pre-decide that I give 50% of an increase away, that's going to be the general, right? You pre-decide this is what I'm going to do. So before it comes, you've already decided.
I've decided
that portion's going away, right?
Yeah.
Because then it removes the feelings out of, I just got this. What should I do? Right? You remove a bit of those feelings, because again, feelings can lie and trick us into doing things that aren't good for us. Yeah. And I think that pre-decision can be a big part of how we can be responsible, but also be generous at the same time.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's helped me in the scarcity mindset is knowing that it isn't mine. It's given from God for us to manage, which is then a very different perspective than I've earned this, or I've got this, or those are the mindsets when I have those, it's like, that's not helpful. It's like, this is God's, and what can I do to manage it? Mm-hmm. And the fact that we've all along had different opportunities to give back and to be a part of that story. It's powerful.
It is. It's really powerful. And again, you trusting God and knowing, no, this isn't mine, it's God's, and knowing that he's got the provision, he can provide. It definitely helps reduce that scarcity mindset, knowing that, no, God has this because I know he's got me. Makes a big difference, for sure.
Do you think that there's a faith piece to that? I know God loves it when we trust him, not that we test him in it, but we step out in faith sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so every once in a while, maybe even stepping beyond what seems you can manage yourself in your generosity. And kind of expectation of God's going to look after me. Mm-hmm. And again, there's that line between I'm testing God all the time by just throwing it away, or I think God is wanting me to step out in faith. And so even before you get the increase.
Are you?
Right.
Yep. Yeah, there definitely can be a big faith piece in there, faith and trusting ahead of time and knowing that God is going to provide in some way. It may not be the way you're thinking he will provide, but will provide in some way to meet the need at a time when it's needed.
Yeah.
And we've been there, right? I remember the layoff of me back, 10 years ago, and saying, no, I think we need to give this. And it was like,
that's scarcity mindset, right?
We're going to go. No, I felt very convicted that God has shown up before and we need to do it. And then I ended up getting hired back on in a full-time position and months later. And so you just see how God works.
Yep. Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to work out that way, but just that trust of it's that trust in knowing that God's got you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I waver far too often in looking at my circumstances. I think I'm Peter looking at the storm opposed to Jesus. And then I get scared and I start to sink.
And being willing to follow those promptings, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment.
Yeah. Sometimes that can be difficult, especially if it doesn't make sense. That's definitely the difficult side to that one. Because if it makes sense, it's easier to take steps forward.
Right.
But if you're looking at this has no sense whatsoever, how is this going to work? But you want me to step out. Certainly much more difficult, I think, when it's harder to see in the moment.
It's almost like we're going to agree with God if it makes sense. Okay, God, you're saying to do this. I agree with you.
Yeah, it sounds good.
So I'll go ahead. But if I don't understand it, it's like, I'm not sure I agree with what you're doing here. So I don't know if I want to do that.
I think we can detour a little around that and just make this a little easier, right? Yeah, I hear you there.
That's kind of funny, eh?
Well, we've come to the end of our time here. I think that was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too as well. We, of course, love doing this and making this available for you guys just to kind of be a part of what we do here on Talk It Over. Of course, we want to thank the tech team behind us, making this, of course, all available and possible for you guys to be a part of. And I want to thank you guys for joining me this week. It was a lot of fun. And, of course, we will see you guys in the new year. And, of course, we want to remember, whoever finds God,
finds life.